Welcome back to Black Swan Outdoors, and today we're going to talk about the MI-6 loadout. Now, is this going to be a real loadout for an MI-6 officer? Probably not. Where I got this list from was an excellent book called Ascension from a British thriller writer, Oliver Harris. He's a fantastic writer. If you like thriller novels, I definitely recommend him to check out. His main character, Elliot Kane, was doing some investigation on the Ascension Island, which is an island smack dab in the middle between Africa and South America. It has a long history since Napoleon was kept on St. Helena Island, which is nearby. It's been an area for the Royal Air Force, kind of where they launched the Falkland Wars. It's also has U.S. presence there. NASA, the U.S. Air Force has been there for a while. They do missile observations and celestial observations off the island. And then, of course, there's a big BBC transmitter. So lots of action, lots of history, very interesting book that kind of goes through a lot of that stuff. So if you want a good read, I definitely recommend it. In the book, Elliot Kane, the main character, takes off, and in the book they provide, Oliver Harris provides kind of a gear list of the things that he brought, so I thought maybe today I would do that and talk about it. Now, why am I talking about fiction when a lot of the stuff that I write about or talk about and write about is nonfiction in the sense, is it true, is it real? And that's always the question about tradecraft. It's always the question about intelligence work. You know, where is the line between reality and fiction? And sometimes that gray area is confusing. One of the things we talk about in our book Tradecraft, and we write about quite a bit in the blog, is this relationship between art and reality. And sometimes art influences reality, and sometimes reality influences art. And so when we're reading these thrillers, when we're reading even news, these are things that are being played back and forth. And so there are a lot of people who actually do intelligence work and get inspiration from books, and vice versa. So it's kind of a give and play, and the understanding tradecraft is really understanding creativity, and that's kind of the key to tradecraft. So without any further ado, let's go into the list. Now, I'm not going to talk about specifically how Elliot Kane why he would have packed the stuff in that context. I think you could read the book and find out. I'm going to talk a little bit more about kind of my approach or kind of my observations or my thoughts on these different pieces of gear that he had with him. It's a very small list, as you can see, and you'll also notice there are no weapons, no guns, no knives. And so you're probably thinking, well, what kind of fun of an action thriller is this? I assure you, it is a good read, even though he's not carrying a weapon like some of the other books of that genre. So, at any rate, let's jump right into it. So the first thing on the list here is a lockpick set. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the investigative tools that he's using, or the kind of collection tools, and certainly having a good lockpick set is great. And I myself personally would judge a good character in a thriller whether or not they're carrying a good lockpick set, and the next thing would be a flashlight. Now, the thing about a lockpick set is that it's going to raise some flags. It's certainly something when you go in through across a border, for example, that you could be potentially flagged. Sometimes lockpicks are illegal in some areas, but it's also kind of a bit of a suspect. These are kind of suspect devices with you, or tools. And so what that could do is that could trigger you into a secondary screening, which is something you definitely want to avoid. Likewise, the pair of binoculars that he also brought is something too. Now, if you're going on vacation, you're going on cruises, binoculars are much more common than some other, types. Like you wouldn't necessarily want to be traveling with like a rifle scope to use for observation, nor would that be good anyway, or say a monocular, which I've done videos on my binocular. But the binoculars definitely can kind of blend in a little bit better. But if you're going into a contested area, a conflict zone, having a pair of binoculars, even if you're just press, might be something a little more suspect. So definitely the lockpick set's going to raise some red flags. Even those binoculars would too. So, but we're talking about fantasy here, so that's fine. Some of the other kind of cool gear that he carried with him was a small mini camera. This one is one that I use with my miniature microphones or listening devices as part of kind of training and kind of trying to identify and figuring out where electronic countermeasures are, or electronic listening devices are, and practicing my countermeasure techniques. But this camera I do actually travel with quite a bit. I can set this up in my hotel room to kind of keep an eye on who comes and goes when the maid comes in, that kind of thing. So yeah, it works out really well. It takes stills, it takes video, it has night vision IR capability. So it's a fantastic little travel device, and it has an internal battery, as well as can be plugged into a external battery, which I carry a small one for that reason. Okay, so the next thing are these listening devices. These things are pretty cool. Super cheap on Amazon. I think I paid like $4 for them. As you'll note, there's no batteries. There's no battery on there. So you actually have to hardwire the battery in. You can hardwire a harness on there. It takes up to 9 volts. You could do much smaller amperage. Or you can hardwire these straight into, say, something like a clock, or a smoke detector, or something in a house. Now you just put these microphones in place, and then you'll need something to listen to. And in that case, they run on AM, I believe. So I have my shortwave radio here, which I use for travel all the time anyway. A fantastic device to have while you're traveling is shortwave. And so you could use this as a listening device. So you could just be in the next room over listening to what's happening with just a regular radio. Elliott Kane also carried some additional listening devices. Again, intelligence collection with an AM and FM, or a digital and analog scanner. Now, I don't have a frequency scanner, but these $35, $25 Baofeng radios, we've done plenty of videos on before, and we've talked about, are fantastic little devices for essentially to be used as a cheap frequency scanner. Now, they're generally around $100. They come with a lot more features. They run through frequencies faster, so there's a lot of advantages to that. If you want digital and analog, then you're looking at about $600 US. But for $25, and you don't get a lot of the features, but you get a lot of capability plus the two-way element to it. I feel that that's a good piece of kit to have. Now, having two-way radio also is something a little bit more suspect. Having just a shortwave, people travel with those all the time. Having two-way might be something. Plus, these Baofengs are illegal in some countries as well. So again, you want to know the country that you're going in, whether that's going to work. Now, you could also, since I don't have the digital end, but I can use this software-defined radio dongle, plug it into my computer or my cell phone even, and be able to do most of what I do with the Baofeng and more. It's just a little bit less convenient because you need to be plugging in a device, having an antenna, etc., etc. But this gives you some great capability, and I've used this quite a bit in hotel rooms, kind of getting a lay of the land in terms of radio frequencies in the area. So you can kind of listen into lots of different things with this as well as those listening devices. So with that, having a computer, so Elliott Kane had his computer. He also uploaded his computer with special software to access local networks and kind of getting data packets and such. We did a Patreon post about this a while back, highlighting Wireshark, the program which you can use. So if you have all these capabilities of getting radio frequency surveillance. And there's tons and tons of videos these days out about that, but very little videos about the surveillance of what's going in and out of modems. And I think that that's also a very important part of data collection and intelligence collection. So I think that was very, very apt for Oliver Harris to add that into the book. Very forward thinking. The other things that he had with him was kind of standard, just a first aid kit. Again, this is kind of a bulky first aid kit, but if you're traveling into a remote-ish area, I generally do carry a larger first aid kit, just because you need more stuff readily available. So when I travel in a developing world, I certainly do carry a more comprehensive first aid kit, and I think it's well worth the wait. When I'm traveling over distances, longer periods of time, I carry a much smaller first aid kit, and we'll do a go bag loadout, and you can see that. I'll do a whole thing on that in some time. So this is a great first aid kit that can sit in your hotel room or in a car. In terms of size and functionality. Lastly here is a compass. He opted not to bring a GPS with him, which is fair enough. Compass is just as good, I think, and just as accurate, lightweight, and can be used for multiple things. I carry a compass with me traveling as well. It quickly orients you to a new environment. That you can go north, south, east, west very fast. Helps you with map reading much faster. Because when you're traveling, you're probably using paper maps more than you are at home. If you're in a situation where you don't want to use your cell phone for travel, or you don't have a cell phone capable for travel, you're using what Oliver had, or Elliot Kane had, which was printed off maps. Then that's something that's going to be very helpful. The other nice thing about the compass and traveling with it is you can set up what's called traps. And so if I was leaving my computer on a desk while I'm going out to have a drink or whatever in a hotel room, I could set my compass to a particular, to the angle in which my computer is set at, and just kind of put it off center a little bit, and then put the compass right next to it, find the direction in which that angle is sitting, and then I could leave, and then I would come back, and I could put the compass back onto that computer, and if the angle was changed in any capacity, then I know my computer had been tampered with, or someone had touched or moved my computer. So you can do that with luggage, you can do that with anything in your hotel room. So smart thing to carry with you for so many different reasons, a compass. So of course he also, Elliot Kane carried his compass to help him with navigating around the island, thinking that he might need to get around the island, go into different places off the beaten path. And so he had printed off satellite imagery as well as the regular maps. And so satellite imagery is certainly something, when you're going into a new area, it gives you just a different element of view than what you have. And in fact, this week's Tradecraft Tuesday post, this week or next week, I think it's this week, is going to be actually on how to read satellite and aerial photos. So we'll be doing a conversation or a post about that specifically coming up very soon. So keep an eye out for that. I've just kind of highlighted and printed off some of my strip map examples. I did a video series on strip maps earlier, so for those that are interested, you can check that out. This is just a basic, Google map that's annotated with specific stops, specific waypoints that we need. This one is more of a kind of a travel map over longer distances, less detail. So from start to finish, you can use these for evacuations, emergencies, to and from your hotel to a hospital, to and from your hotel to a meeting zone, to and from a safe house to a safe haven, whatever it is that you want to use, a cache site, whatever. And whereas this is a little bit more detailed, has a little bit more information on there because it has waypoints and the starting points and And then lastly here, the last page is kind of just a mock-up of exactly the location you're going, this is a great little document for specifically to verify and for observation of a safe house. So you have your safe house here in red. You can use this to kind of get an understanding of the environment before you approach. And then you have a picture of the safe house itself to verify its location, the GPS coordinates, and then a map view as well, so you can kind of see what it looks like on the map. So again, it's about preparation and figuring out that you are in the right place before you head in. So, okay, so that is the Elliott Kane MI-6 Loadout. I don't think I missed anything, but if I did and you read the book, please let me know. If you haven't read the book, please read it, because it is a fantastic book, and his other books as well. Hopefully you found this video interesting. I'll be doing more videos shortly, so please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.